All right, good morning, guys. Today is PS14, Reflect, Absorb, and Transmit. And we're going to start with a quick do now. So I want you to find somebody in your house, maybe a little sibling or your parent or something, and describe to them the difference between a transverse and a longitudinal wave. So take a minute to do that. Pause the video. Okay, cool. So today we're going to be continuing to talk about waves. We're actually going to start off with one vocab word that made more sense to include in the last notes, but there were so many words that I put it off to today. So the first vocab word today is frequency, and this is the number of waves that pass a point in a given time. So if you look at this diagram, I think the definition is a little bit unclear unless we use examples. So the number of waves that pass a point in a given time, keep in mind that these waves are all moving. Okay, so if I were measuring at this spot, these are all moving at the same speed. If I were measuring at this spot and all of these waves were moving, then you can tell that this wave would have a lot more crests passing this point. Okay, so this has the highest frequency and this has the lowest frequency. And in between we have these. So you can also see, and this is always going to be true, the lower frequency has a much longer wavelength, right? The wavelength of this wave is from here to here, which is a much longer wavelength than this one, which has a very short wavelength. Okay, so on to today's stuff. The first vocab word is reflection. This is the movement of waves bouncing off an object. So I'm going to have you write down these three vocab words, and then we'll talk about the three of them and what each of them means, because I think it makes more sense altogether. So remember to pause if you need a little more time to write that down. Okay, so absorption is the movement of waves transferring energy to the object it penetrates, and penetrates is another way of saying touching or going into. All right, so that's absorption. And then the last one is transmission. This is the movement of waves through an object. So pause there if you need to. Okay, so I have a plant here, which is a good way of showing some stuff about light. So if we were in class, I would ask you what color this is, and Bethlehem would probably say like red or something. But you can see that this is green. The reason that this is green is because green is the color that is being reflected back to our eyes. So the reason we see all plants, or most plants, as green is because that's the color that's actually being reflected back towards us. On the contrary, we have absorption, which is the colors that are actually being absorbed into this leaf. So these are all the colors that we're not seeing. Leaves are green because they're reflecting the green back at our eyes, and they're not blue because they're not reflecting blue back at our eyes. They're absorbing blue and they're absorbing red and all the other colors that we can't see. And then the last one, transmission. I want you to try and think about a material that transmits a lot of light. This is a very common material. I want you to think, what would it mean for a material to have light pass through it? So if you're thinking like glass or plastic, that's exactly right. Transmission means that the waves are actually coming through. So here I have a window. I can see all the stuff that's outside the window because the light is coming in through this window. All of the wavelengths are coming in through this window, and it's all passing pretty directly. If I were to step outside, I would see that the colors are just about exactly the same, and that's because almost all the light is being transmitted through the window. Okay? And that is actually it for today. So just those 4 vocab words. Your classwork today is going to be especially on transmission and reflection and absorption. Did you guys just hear that G chat? I guarantee that's Bethlehem in the 6th grade science one, or the Miss H's science class. Thanks, Bethlehem. Okay, so the classwork is mainly on those 3, but then also a little bit of throwback to last week's stuff on longitudinal waves, transverse waves, and all of the different parts of a wave. Okay, I will talk to you guys on Wednesday. That's our next live class at 1:15. Okay? I hope you're doing well.